7.3. Call 0845 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC 973. This is London's biggest conversation with Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is LBC 97.3, London's biggest conversation. Our conversation now turns to, well, looking after the kids, parenting. It's a very strange thing. I don't think there were any parenting experts around when our parents, or indeed maybe you, if you're an older parent, were parents. You were just expected to get on with it and do it. There didn't seem to be so many problems. These days, we need parenting experts. Now, some of them, I've got to be honest, I'm not sure I agree with. There are some, though, absolutely with all the way. And one of them joins me now, the Three-Day Nanny, Kathryn Mewes. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio, Kathryn.
Hello.
Well, I watched your series on Channel 4 last year, and I said to my producer, please, I want to get Kathryn Mewes in. I want her to talk about her parenting tips on air and take questions from callers. To give people a bit of background on Kathryn, you were a Norland nanny, weren't you, for a number of years? Working with families, some of the rich and famous. I don't think we'll be able to go into names, but I'll do my best. You then went to work with families in Australia. You've worked with many families over the years and worked out pretty quickly that 3 days was all you probably needed, working intensively with families to try and sort out what their problems are, whether it's getting a child to eat, to sleep, to stay asleep, sorting out discipline, potty training and all that. You've been likened to a real-life Nanny McPhee, a modern-day Mary Poppins. I have to say, watching your TV series last year, you seemed to just talk an awful lot of common sense, and it was the relief on the families' faces when you arrived and when you left was extraordinary to watch. So before we go to talk to you, I'll give out the phone number again, because I know lots of people want to call in with their questions. We've already had quite a few throughout the show. 0845 6060 973 is the number to call if you have got a question for Kathryn Mewes, the Three-Day Nanny, about parenting, whether it's about getting your child to potty train, getting them to eat more than just pasta or yoghurt, getting them to go to sleep, to actually stay asleep in their own bed. Yes, 3 different stories there. And indeed the general getting them to do the right thing most of the time. But Kathryn, tell us a little bit about how you got into working as a nanny and where your work now as the Three-Day Nanny, where that comes from.
Well, I knew from a really young age, actually, that I wanted to work with children. And it started when I was speaking to my mum. I was 13 and we had to decide at school what we wanted to be when we were grown up. And I turned around and said I wanted to know how children's brains worked. So it all stemmed from there, really. And I was fortunate enough to go off to the Norland Nannying College and study there. And
these, of course, they're the ones who dress very smartly. This would be that old-fashioned image of a nanny, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a very traditional college, and I feel it was an absolute privilege to go there. But you actually have the opportunity over the 3-year course to really start to understand how children work, how their brains really do tick.
And I suppose it's only once you see things from the child's perspective, not necessarily taking their side as such, but understanding how they're going to react to how you are going to talk to them as a parent or as an adult, that you can understand what to say and do to get them to do what you want them to say or do.
Yeah, I think parents are so busy today, 101 things buzzing around in your head. But if you actually have the time to stop, bend down and look at life through the eyes of your child, you will start to understand far more clearly why they're doing or not doing as they should be.
This is interesting, though, isn't it? As I mentioned in the introduction, my parents wouldn't have ever read a parenting book. I don't think parenting books even existed. I mean, there was very simple, practical, how to change a nappy, how to warm a bottle, but not in terms of how to interact with your child. I would say, what's gone wrong with parenting? Do you think that parenting has gone wrong in the sense of parents lacking confidence and parents trying to be a friend and not a parent?
I think that as I observe families, which I do many families every single week, I think the instinct has gone. I think that we're so busy trying to be perfect in what we do, and I class many parents now as being the professional parent. They want to get it absolutely A-star perfect, as they often have in their profession before they had children. And yes, everyone is reverting to websites, books, TV shows, all of which are great. But then you've got to bring it back to the core, and that is just go with your gut instinct, because 9 times out of 10, that's likely to be right.
That's the thing. I've always been amazed at how mums lose that confidence, especially in the early days, weeks and months. How many of my friends who've had children since I've had mine saying, oh, should my child sleep in my bed? I go, well, what do you want to do? What will make you happy? Because a happy mum, we're not talking about getting drunk and taking drugs, but generally a happy mum doing what she feels is right will be what's right, certainly for a newborn baby, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just this week, actually, I've been working alongside a mum, and I've had to say to her, there's nothing wrong with checking your emails now and again. There's nothing wrong with your son seeing that you've actually got your life and you've got to get things done, because if you're not happy, he won't be.
And so long as it's not 24 hours a day and you never get to look in, it's all about the balance, isn't it?
Is.
But again, I'm fascinated by this lack of confidence and also the issue, again, of, you mentioned this really, the working mums feeling the career-driven mum who's always been able to look, well, what do I need to do? Right, here's the instruction, I can do this, I've got a new gadget, here's the instructions, I can do this. Well, you come home from that hospital with this sort of funny little bundle, and there's nothing to tell you what to do other than these books, all of which seem to conflict with each other. Let them sleep, don't let them sleep, make them eat at this time, don't make them eat at this time. What are parents supposed to think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yes, it is hard, and you're never going to find a manual for your child. I think that's the thing. And what works for one family doesn't necessarily work for the other. But if you do want to follow a system, if you do want to follow a guide, choose one. I think that's the big problem. I don't think I've been into a house yet without seeing at least half a dozen parenting books. And yes, you're right. They all have their own stance. And how can you... It's like following 6 different recipes all at the same time.
If you pick one, it'll work. If you pick 6 and try and combine them, odds are it won't. That's
exactly
very good. This is the sort of sensible, no-nonsense advice here. As you say, there's no manual for your child. So 0845 6060 973 is the number for people to call in if you want to ask Kathryn for some tips on your child rearing. Let's go to the first call straight away. John is in Southend. Hello, John.
Hello there, how are you?
Very well indeed. What's your question for Kathryn?
Good, hello Kathryn.
Hi, John.
We've got two. One 18 months boy who had colic, and as we found our situation is we have to sort of rock him to sleep in our arms, and he's been indifferently sleeping since birth, but obviously we've had a few months of success, and then when teething comes along, that obviously we struggle again, and if he wakes in the night, we have to rock him back to sleep, which could take anything from 1 to 4 hours, with the aid of Calpol, etc. Problem is, we had another one who's 3 months old,
right?
And for one reason or another, he had a bit of a tricky start with a possible heart problem, whatever. We found that he likes his mum's chest. And he doesn't want to go in his bed, be it a Moses basket, a mini cot or a cot bed, at all. So he spends all night on his mum's, laying across his mum's chest in our bed.
Right. Okay.
And we've tried for a while. I could get him down by rocking him to sleep, getting him in his bed, one hand under his head, the other on his chest, wrap him up, wait till he goes off, and then slowly creep away, so to speak. But now I can't even do that, and it's creating a massive problem. We're both extremely sleep. It's a rare commodity in our house at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously that brings another set of problems.
Yes, absolutely.
But we've got two issues, but the biggest one is the younger one, who we can't get him in his bed.
Right, okay. Well, John, first of all, I feel so sorry for you. I think once upon a time, sleep deprivation was a form of torture. So, yes, I can understand how difficult it must be for all 4 of you in the house. I think the important thing to realise is when children arrive into the world, they don't know how to fall asleep. That's something that we have to teach them. And there isn't any device, there isn't any aid that somebody needs in order to fall asleep. We don't need shining lights. We don't need glow clocks. We don't need rocking. We don't need singing. We don't need vibrating cots. Do you believe they exist? We don't need any of that stuff. Absolutely. There is one thing that your child needs, and that is a warm, dark space in order to learn to fall asleep. And
but how do you teach them? Once, assuming we've got ourselves into this position, or we find ourselves in this position, you know, we've got the temperature gauges, we've got the things that make noises, we've got the mobiles, we've tried all these 3 different beds. Once you're in this position, you know, how do you train them out of it, considering there's one next door that if he wakes in the next room, if he wakes, you're going to spend anything up to 4 hours to get him back to sleep again?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you wanted to start with your youngest, who you said is only 3 months old, yes, you swaddle him nicely so he's cosy and warm, and you've got your temperature gauge so you know that his nursery is absolutely fine. He's
actually in our bedroom. The cot's next to us.
Right.
We plan to put him in his own room around 6 months.
Okay, John. Let Kathryn speak, John.
I think have your little one's cot a distance away from your bed, okay? And you need to, when settling him down, leave the room. And that's what you need to do. And you need to give him up to 5 minutes to try and figure it out himself.
And what happens if after 5 minutes...
He will shout because you're asking him to do something he doesn't know how to do, and he's still learning. He can't talk, so he's going to shout. Give him 5 minutes, go back in. If he's still shouting, pick him up, calm him down, and you put him back down again. And you keep on doing this until eventually he sleeps in his cot on his own without needing his mother's chest.
And might that take hours or days? Or
no, this one's so little. He's 3 months old. If you went through that process, I would say within an hour, if you were going backwards and forwards, within an hour, he would have learnt to sleep on his own mattress.
John, I'm going to wish you the best of luck with that. Do let us know. Get in touch with me, julia@lbc.co.uk. Let me know how that works. Wish you the best of luck. But it sounds like get rid of all the gadgets, a bed... blackout blinds. Is there another bed? Blackout blinds. That's all you need. Yes. Okay. Well, we wish you the best of luck, John. Lots more calls, lots more questions. 0845 6060 973. You've got questions about your child, getting them to eat, to sleep, to potty train, whatever it is, whatever the problem is. Kathryn Mewes, the 3-Day Nanny, can help. We're not giving you 3 whole days. We're about 3 minutes per caller, but we'll do our best. That's all coming up after an update on the traffic and travel. The time now is 3:16. And in the LBC 97.3 travel centre now, it's Russell Holding.
Well, the latest on the M25, Julia. Traffic's queuing each way towards junction 19 at Watford after an accident. Anti-clockwise, still taking roughly an hour and a half to get from junction 22 at London Coney. Clockwise, there are queues from junction 16, the M40. Now, the accident between junctions 25 and 26 clockwise has been cleared. That's from the A10 to Waltham Abbey. It's still taking roughly 40 minutes there in the queues from junction 24 at Potters Bar. Now, Piccadilly is closed eastbound from St James Street to Piccadilly Circus for emergency repairs. A number of buses having to divert as a result. There are queues from just after the Piccadilly underpass. Now, in Bruce Grove, Lordship Lane is partly blocked by an accident off the High Road. Wimbledon Hill is partly blocked by an accident, and there are queues each way on Denmark Hill because of roadwork. Southbound, those queues back as far as Camberwell Green. Now, in Dartford, Bobdon Way remains closed out of town from Marsh Street to junction 1A of the M25 because of flooding. There are minor delays on the District Line between Barking and Upminster after a signal failure, and the Victoria Line is running a normal service now after the disruption yesterday. Keeping London moving, your next travel update is in half an hour.
This is LBC 97.3.
The Citroen C1 is as agile as they come.
It looks like a sweet. I'm going to see if I can fit it in my mouth.
It has rapid response cornering stability control.
Those LEDs are sending me out of control.
Right. So you get supreme handling on city streets. What are you doing?
I'm licking it.
Again. The new Citroen C1 from £99 a month with 1 year's free insurance. It's agile.
Loveliness.
What's it taste like?
Like dreams.
Citroën. Creative Technology.
Conditions apply. Free car insurance is underwritten by UK Insurance Limited. Personal lease initial rental from £3,161 followed by 46 monthly rentals. You will not own the car. Annual mileage 10,000. Participating Citroën dealers.
All right, first, the obelisk in the aqueduct, on a boat in the river, by postcards, no time for pictures. Then we're off to the ancient palace, the ancient cathedral, the ancient wall, and the history museum. Now, the open-air market. Fruit, bread, meat, cheese. That's enough. Next, the plaza, the boulevard, and the shops. Find, like, try, buy. Ready? Let's go!
At least your trip can start relaxed. Fly to Germany with Lufthansa from just £69 one way, services included. Conditions and booking fee may apply. Book at lufthansa.com. Non-stop you. Lufthansa.
The world is on sale until January the 28th. Book flights and holidays at ba.com. British Airways. To fly, to serve. Terms and conditions apply.
Oak Furnitureland's biggest ever winter sale is now on, with up to 50% off the UK's largest selection of 100% solid hardwood furniture. There's no chipboard, no veneers, and over 20 different ranges to choose from, with most items exclusive to us, in stock and ready for free delivery. Plus, there's no deposit and 0% finance available. Oak Furnitureland, quality at a price you can't knock.
Don't miss a weekend of FA Cup fourth round action on BT Sport, starting this Friday from 7 p.m, when Arsenal host League One's Coventry City. Join us again on Saturday from 4:45 for Everton away to FA Cup giant killers Stevenage, and then on Sunday from 12 as Sheffield United host Fulham. Can the Blades take another Premier League scalp? Find out exclusively live on BT Sport. £12 a month on the Sky digital satellite platform, or free with BT Broadband.
UK residential customers only. Online requires 400 kilobits per second. BT broadband for new customers from £10 a month plus $15.99 line rental. 12-month contract and terms apply. Sky platform requires 12-month contract, and if you don't have BT broadband, a £15 activation fee.
Sunday mornings on LBC 97.3. Larry Lamb.
There's the sort of the healing process that people are trying to go through. There's the element of trying to explain to the children why, if you're trying to do it properly, why dad isn't there or why mum isn't there. I was raised in a single parent family. My old man was left with my brother and me, and he certainly was not happy about the situation and didn't make any bones about it. Hello, Julie.
And I really thank you for having this discussion this morning.
You're very welcome.
I'd recommend your programme to anybody. You're like a breath of fresh air. You speak my language.
The one and only Larry Lamb. Sunday mornings from 10 on London's biggest conversation. LBC 97.3.
I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is LBC 97.3, London's biggest conversation, live in the studio with the Three-Day Nanny, Kathryn Mewes. She had a hit series on Channel 4 last year. And basically, she reckons she can sort out pretty much any families in their... She's looking a bit worried when I say this. Any family and their children's problems within 3 days. We're giving her about 3 minutes with your kids. Hope that's enough. 0845 6060 973 for any parenting dilemmas or tips that you're looking for. We've spoken to John, who's got 2 children who, frankly, just won't go to sleep unless they're being rocked to sleep. Before we go to some more calls, and there are lots coming in, Kathryn, we were just talking in the update on the traffic and travel there about your series, and I remember very vividly there was a case of a child who would eat nothing but chicken nuggets and chips, and I was just amazed that if my child said I won't eat anything but chicken nuggets and chips, the idea that those 2 items would be in my house ever.
Yes, absolutely. I think a huge mistake, the fundamental mistake that parents make is asking their children what they want to eat. Children love familiarity, so therefore they will always choose the same produce. So therefore you fall into the, I'll have sausages please, I'll have sausages please, I'll have sausages please, and you're stuck. So I think it's the grown-ups in the house that choose what's being eaten.
You go out to work and earn the money to pay for the food. You cook the food. You wash up. You get to choose.
And how about producing what you actually want to eat? I don't think there should be children's food and adults' food. I think it should be the family meal. And that's something that's almost disappeared in this day and age. And I think it's a great shame. I think the children should be eating what mum and dad are going to be eating a little bit later on in that evening.
Again, and that's what would have happened when we were kids and when our parents were kids. This is a new construct, this new idea, isn't it, the kids' meal.
Yes.
I suppose also, again, for working parents, you come in, you think, oh, do you know what, pasta, that's easy, or fish fingers, whatever it is that they want that's familiar. It's very easy for the parent to just give in to that, even to suggest it themselves because it's simpler and quicker.
Yes, but it's also easy to steam some veg. It's also easy to wrap a bit of salmon in foil and stick it in the oven. I think it's a cop-out. I think it's an absolute cop-out. I think we should all be able to cook a healthy meal for ourselves and our children. It doesn't need to come out of a cardboard box. Sometimes it does. Fish fingers are great. But that's not something a child should be choosing every day.
OK, Kathryn, thank you very much. She's told us. I'm just going to go home and throw all the fish fingers away now. Let's talk to Lucy, who's in Reading. Hello, Lucy. What do you want to tell us?
Hi, Julia. Hi, Kathryn.
Hello, Lucy.
What's your question?
I have 2 kids, 2 and 4, and it's the 4-year-old that I've started to have problems with just in the last few months. She was always a very compliant, well-behaved little girl, and then just since she turned 4, seems to be deciding to be as difficult as possible, as often as possible, and, turned to hitting me, refusing to do what she's asked. Over Christmas, she covered herself with a pot of Vaseline on Christmas Day. It's just, if she can be naughty and insolent and rude, she will be. And the problem is now my 2-year-old is copying her.
Right.
And I don't want people to think, oh, what a spoiled little brat. Because she's not. She's lovely.
OK,
right.
Lucy, so that's the problem. Kathryn, what's the advice?
Children tend to misbehave if they're allowed to get away with it. So
Yeah.
I think the key is praising her when she's doing well. So don't
Right.
fall into that spiral of waiting for the next bit of bad behaviour. So
Yeah.
try and be upbeat and positive and believe in her and notice all the great stuff that she's doing and thank her for it and praise her for it. But if she does make the wrong choice, she needs to spend some time on her own thinking about that. And
Yeah.
that's when you send her off to her bedroom or sit her on that step and tell her that she can come down when you're ready.
Could it be with the 2-year-old, although the trouble didn't start when the baby was born, that having a younger sibling around who's probably getting a bit more attention, that this is a cry for attention?
I think it's starting at a nursery or starting at school. Children tend to thrive on the routine and the organisation and doing as they're asked by the teacher.
Yeah.
And when they come home, they test that. They think, I've
Yeah.
had to pay attention all day. I've had to do what I was told all day at school.
Yeah.
I've had enough of that.
That's exactly right. It's almost because her teachers say, oh, she's beautifully behaved. And it's almost like she spends all her energy being good at school. And then when she comes home, it's like, oh, just let's rest.
Yes, she's run out, exactly. It's like a hard day at work. You can't
Yeah.
take one more instruction.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we excuse bad behaviour. And I think, if she isn't listening to you and she is purposefully doing things that she knows is going to upset you, I think she needs to spend some time on her own.
Yeah.
And
Lucy,
then
can I have one little
discuss it
test?
afterwards.
Can I have a Lucy, would you give us a little demonstration of your telling off voice?
Well, it's usually, I have to admit, I find it hard to keep my temper under control as well. So I do put her in a room, but she comes out, she thinks that she can come out when she's ready to say sorry. So after about a minute, she'll poke her head around the door and go, Mum, I'm ready to say sorry.
Yeah.
And then we start all over again. So my telling off voice, I have to say, I could do a lot of practice on.
Well, that's it. Go and it's that deep voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really deep. I'm cross with you voice.
Yes, and I do have to say, Kathryn, we have employed your tactics about giving them a choice. So I do, and it does work when I remember to do it. Say, you have a choice. You can either continue to behave like this, or you can go into your room.
That's it. Brilliant.
And do you know what I think also is a great tip, Lucy? It's when they are really driving you berserk, count to 10. Go out, just mummy's just going out of the room.
Yeah.
Go out of the room, count to 10 slowly, and have a deep breath.
Yeah.
And come back in. The difficulty, isn't it,
Yeah.
Kathryn, is remembering that we're the parent.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I do think, I love the fact that you're saying you're giving your children choices. I think that's wonderful, and it's this or this. But just try your best to do it. Like Julia said, find that firm voice. So it's not the screeching because you've lost the plot voice.
We've all done it.
And it's not the gentle mummy voice. It's that one in between of you choose. And I think that voice is really worth practicing because the teacher voice.
Oh,
it works.
I go full on headmistress. Thank you very much, Lucy. I hope that helps. Keep in touch with us and let us know how it works. Farah is in Wimbledon. Farah, what's the question you've got for Kathryn?
Hi, I've got a daughter who's just coming up to a year old, and the last couple of months she's started being really difficult with my husband. So if we're ever together in a room, she doesn't like going to him or cries, and if I'm anywhere near. And as soon as I leave, after probably even only 30 seconds, she's back to her normal self, happy and lovely with him. But it's getting really frustrating, and we're not quite sure how to approach it.
Okay, Kathryn?
Right. Okay, I think your husband's going to love hearing me say this. I think you need to take some time off, and I think you need to give them some time together. I'm sure that they have a lovely bond, but as children sort of reach the age of 1, they start to realise they can make decisions for you and they can take a bit of control. So obviously a bright little button you've got there who's trying to play one of you off of the other. But I think that you stay firm and they have some time together. That will be my first thing. And the second thing is when she does scream and shout because daddy's come into the room, I think you back daddy up, and I think you make a point of passing your child over into your husband's arms and family hugs and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So when she's playing up, you think I should stay in the room then but insist that she stays playing with my husband?
Yes, I think you should initially. But then if it starts building into an absolute rage, I think you then say to her, Mummy's just going out. I'm just going up to the loo. I'm just going off to the bathroom. I'm just going to fold the laundry, whatever it is. And you remove yourself from the room, yes.
OK, Farah, we'll hope that works for you. Before we go to an update on the news, we've got lots more calls, but not time to get another one in before we go to the news. There have been quite a few comments recently about childcare costs. And I was someone who works with families and particularly with obviously working mums as well. Has that been an issue with a lot of your clients about the difficulty of getting adequate childcare and the childcare sort of parenting the same way that you do and keeping that consistency?
Yes, it's a huge one, an absolutely huge one. To find the right nursery that are willing to implement the same systems as you do at home, and the communication from nursery to home life. Yes, I hear that can be a difficult one.
So they're not undermining everything that you're doing. Kathryn Mewes, thank you very much. She's staying with us. We've got a lot of calls. We'll try to get to as many as possible before 4 o'clock. 0845 6060 973 is the number to call. Also, this is streaming live online on our website, lbc.co.uk. So we're on best behaviour in the studio, aren't we? So if you want to have a look online, do have a look at our website, lbc.co.uk. Your questions for Kathryn Mewes, the 3-Day Nanny. Lots more coming up. We'll do our best, as I say, to get to as many as possible. In the meantime, I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer on LBC 97.3. The time now is 3:30. And here are the latest news headlines now. It's Simon Conway.
A 25-year-old woman from Windsor has been jailed for at least 14 years for murdering her 11-month-old son. Emma Wilson was responsible for her son Callum's brain injury. She tried to blame it on his older brother. Police in Essex say a city trader has been shot in a targeted attack at a railway station. 44-year-old Robin Clark was hit in the leg when he got out of his car at Shenfield station early this morning. He's in a serious condition in hospital. Ed Miliband is accusing the government of using selective official figures after ministers claimed take-home pay for most workers rose faster than inflation last year. The Labour leader says David Cameron is ignoring the impact of cuts to tax credits and child benefits on working families. A Conservative backbencher has been telling LBC 97.3 how he chased down an alleged shoplifter in his constituency earlier. Julia's been speaking to Clacton MP Douglas Carswell.
I heard a bit of shouting and I saw this chap who looked like he might be a bit of a ne'er-do-well running down the street. I suspected he may have been up to no good, so I went after him, and he then ran down an alleyway. I followed him down and closed the gap and placed him against the wall.
The man was then taken away by police when they arrived. London's travel, Piccadilly is down to 2 out of 3 lanes eastbound from St James's Street to Piccadilly Circus for emergency repairs. They're accused from just after the Piccadilly underpass. And London's weather, cloudy with patchy rain from the west later this afternoon. Wet in all areas by tonight. Lows of 7 degrees, and that's the temperature right now in Soho. LBC 97.3, it's 3:32.
LBC 97.3.
Make 2014 the year you do something really worthwhile with your spare time. Train for one of the most varied and fascinating volunteer roles around. Discover new strengths you didn't know you had and become the very best you can be. Volunteer as a special constable for 16 hours a month and you'll have the same powers and responsibilities as a regular police officer, whilst learning new skills and making a difference in your community. So step off that treadmill, turn off the telly, and make 2014 your most amazing year yet. To find out more and apply, visit metpolicecareers.co.uk/specials. The Metropolitan Police Service.
The world is on sale until January the 28th. Book flights and holidays at BA.com. British Airways. To fly, to serve. Terms and conditions apply.
Radio's great, isn't it? Especially this station. Good choice. The internet's great too. Lots of interesting stuff. And of course, very amusing pictures of cats. So guess what? If you listen to radio online, it comes with loads of extras. With Radio Player, you can find your favourite shows, listen on catch-up, and of course hear this brilliant station all day long. All at the same time as looking at hilarious pictures of cats. Discover your perfect radio with Radio Player. Just go online and search for Radio Player.
When it comes to mothers, she takes pills, Valium, Xanax.
She smuggled a bottle of Darvocet in her.
Nobody's is perfect.
You want to search me? No.
From Academy Award-winning producers George Clooney and Grant Heslov.
The only woman pretty enough to go without makeup was Elizabeth Taylor, and she wore a ton.
Comes the Academy Award and BAFTA-nominated hit. Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts, Ewan McGregor, Abigail Breslin, Juliette Lewis, Benedict Cumberbatch. August, Osage County. In cinemas now. Cert 15.
It's so easy to get a payout from Missile PPI with Fast Track Reclaim. You don't need paperwork. You don't even need account numbers. Just tell us the name of your bank, and we'll check PPI on every credit card, loan and mortgage you've ever had. How easy is that? Find out if you're owed thousands. Text YES to 82727. That's YES to 82727.
LBC 97.3. This is London's biggest conversation with Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Good afternoon, I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is LBC 97.3, London's biggest conversation. The conversation right now is parenting. We're here live in the studio with the Three-Day Nanny, Kathryn Mewes. She was the star of the Channel 4 hit series last year. She was author of a book, of course, about being a Three-Day Nanny. She's been described as the real-life Nanny McPhee, the modern-day Mary Poppins. No-nonsense, common-sense approach. She goes in, live with families, works with them for 3 days at a time and turns things around. Easy to do when you've not suffered from 2 years of sleep deprivation and you're able to look from the outside. But she uses her 9 years experience as a Norland nanny and working with many other families besides. She's taking your calls right now on 0845 6060 973. That's the number to call. This, of course, is also being streamed live online on our website, lbc.co.uk. Let's get straight back to the calls, Kathryn. Danielle is in Romford. Danielle, you've got a problem with your 5-year-old, haven't you?
Yes, Julia. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've got a 5-year-old.
Can I ask a favour, my darling? Would you mind speaking up a bit into the phone? It's a bit faint.
Oh, okay. Hello.
That's a bit better,
Yeah.
right. 5-year-old, yes.
Yeah, a 5-year-old son, and I can't get him off nappies at night. He's okay during the day, but in the night he just is soakingly wet. By morning when he wakes up, and I don't know what to do with it. He's going on 6 now, and I'm really getting worried. He's growing, and he needs to get out of the nappies.
Right.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, Kathryn.
Okay, all right. When it comes to toileting, both day and night, there isn't really anything you can do because it's something that your child needs to decide for themselves, especially at age 5. But please don't think you're alone. There will be absolutely hundreds, if not thousands of people hearing your voice now, knowing exactly the situation that you're in. And it's not a major problem. It really isn't. I think stopping fluids from sort of 5:30 onwards, let's say sort of an hour and a half before bedtime, is a good idea. Ensuring that he has a pee before he goes to bed, after his stories, just before his head hits the pillow is a good idea. But don't worry, just leave it be. Just leave it for now. And don't even focus on it. When you do want to start talking about it, when his nappies are slightly lighter than they are at the moment, when he wakes up, you can talk to him about it and you can get, create a reward chart and see if he can. But at the moment, if his bladder is just too full, leave things as they are.
Okay. Danielle, is he having a lot of fluid before he goes to bed at night?
No, No, he's not actually the fluid type. He doesn't drink a lot, actually. But I don't know what's going on, if it's just the food or... I don't know. Because he doesn't drink a lot, actually. So he would have his dinner and perhaps an hour before he goes to sleep, he normally wants to have his custard before he goes to bed. I don't know if that would be contributing to it.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's try what Kathryn has suggested, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. But again, it sounds like it's not. I mean, most children obviously are out of nappies by that age, but there's still a large proportion you are, and it's not something to get anxious about.
I think it's not something you talk about, is it? You know, is your child in a nappy at night? But there are an awful lot of children who are in a nappy at night. Something else that I should have mentioned was that it's worth, just before you go to bed at sort of 11 o'clock at night, seeing if that nappy is still wet and trying to indicate whether it's that they're urinating earlier on in the evening when they're in their deep sleep, or whether it's just before they get up in the morning. Because if it's that, then really it could just be a little bit of laze.
Okay, thank you very much. Joanne's on the line now. She's in Essex. Joanne, what do you want to ask Kathryn?
Hello there, yeah. I have a 20-month-old little girl who pulls her hair. She's always done it from really when I can remember, from when she was able to. But obviously as she's got older, she pulls more of it out. She pulls it when she goes to sleep. She rolls it, pulls a lump, and then plays with it as she falls asleep. But she started using it against me. So if I was to tell her off for doing something, she'd grab hold of her hair as if to threaten me that she's going to pull her hair.
Do you know what? She's not pulling your hair. She's pulling her own.
She pulls her own hair now, yeah.
I don't think you should worry.
But if she's pulling the hair out?
But if you focus on it, more and more, she will do it more and more. It's like asking a little boy to stop picking his nose. You can guarantee the minute you turn your back, he'll do it again. I think you almost need to turn a blind eye to it, and maybe.
I did try that for a period of about 5 months when she was young, when she was a bit younger, maybe 1, because that's what the doctor said to me to ignore it. But it's quite serious, because she does. It really thins her hair to a point where people would actually say to me, "She pull her hair," because it was that noticeable. So then I've come a lot stricter with it during the day, just constantly taking her hand away. No, you mustn't do that. So now she sort of does it in secret when she goes to bed. She'd do it, and if I walk into the room, you can see she'd pull her hand out as if to not let me see. And now, the last month or so, this punishment thing sort of, if you tell me off, I'm going to pull my hair because I know you don't want me to.
Oh, okay. It sounds like, Joanne, it's turned into a bit of a power battle between mum and daughter. What would you say, Kathryn?
Yeah, absolutely. No, personally, I think that you should go back to your original tact, and I think that it should be ignored. I think she's using this to get your reaction, and it's working. So for as long as you react, I think it's going to continue. If she is fiddling with her hair when she's playing, you could say to her, if you want to do that, you have to do it over here, and you go and put her somewhere like in the hallway or out of your sight, so that she realises if she's really going to do that, she's got to be on her own.
Okay, Joanne, let's fingers crossed that works. But it's interesting, as you say, she tried that a year, a certain tactic of ignoring, and then that didn't work, and so she's gone back to a different tactic. But just because the tactic hasn't worked at one time at a certain age doesn't mean it's not worth trying again.
Yeah, well, she's talking about she tried it when I think I got this right. Her daughter was only over 1 year old. Her daughter's now 2 months away from being 2, so she's in a whole different zone now. And as we know, when children get closer to the age of 2, they often do things just for a reaction.
Okay, Joanne, fingers crossed you can sort that out. CJ's on the line in Essex. Hello, CJ.
Hi, how are you?
Very well indeed. What's your question for Kathryn?
Thank you for my call. So I've got a 3-year-old, and she drinks so much milk over the night. And I've got to the point where she's doing 5+ bottles. I'm annoyed that she's still sucking on bottles at 3 years old, but I just can't seem to get her off the bottles.
When you say at night, you mean you're giving her bottles overnight?
Yeah, so it's like every 2 hours. But when I've tried to sort of like be bad cop and stop her, I just get tantrums, and I've got to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work. But if you keep getting woken up, and it's just a case of, do I just sort of say no and just let her scream it out through the night, or is that normal? Because I'm thinking that's a lot of milk.
It is, and I'm sure that she's almost like a nocturnal eater. So she probably, am I right in understanding she wouldn't have a huge appetite in the day?
She's not a big eater, but my mum...
Gosh, she is. She's full up on milk, CJ.
No, but my mum would give her something about 6 o'clock in the evening. I try and get her to bed by 7, so when I come home from work, she's literally eating something later.
Right.
So we can sort of try and get her fuller at night, but it doesn't matter. And I'm sort of like every 2 hours, 3 hours during the night, I'm waking up and I've got screams of milk.
Okay, CJ, let's let Kathryn try and deal with this.
CJ, I would sit down with your daughter in the middle of the day, and I would talk to her about how a fairy is coming to visit your house who collects bottles. You've got to be brave, and it is like going cold turkey. So your daughter only knows how to fall asleep when she's suckling on a bottle.
Yeah.
So asking her to sleep without suckling is something she can't do. So she is going to shout in frustration. But if you can do this for 3 nights, and what you do is you hang all of the bottles with ribbon in the trees, in your garden, or resting on your patio, whatever it may be, outside the front door, and the fairy comes and she takes those bottles away and she leaves little presents just to say thank you, because she's got to take the bottles to the babies that really need them.
That's absolutely lovely.
But
I'm going to try that. Okay.
Yeah. Can I just butt in there? What I thought was interesting, CJ, is when you said, when I try and be bad cop, not giving your 3-year-old, I think you said also almost 4-year-old, a bottle in the middle of the night is not being bad cop. It's being.
I just feel so bad because she's screaming in the night. I'm like, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're like, oh, really now?
Yeah.
And you just give her the bottle because you're just like.
But if I could say to you, CJ, 72 hours of your life is what we need, and your daughter will be in a totally different place. So yes, you are going to be up in the night, but if I can tell you by night 4 you could very well have cracked this, it really is worth giving it a go.
CJ, we're going to wish you the best of luck. I would love you to keep in touch and let me know how that goes. Julia at lbc.co.uk. Lots more calls on these sort of issues for the 3-day nanny. Kathryn Mewes, we're certainly making you work for it this hour, aren't we? 08456060973. We'll get to as many as we can before 4 o'clock when Ian Dale takes over at Drive. First up there, the time now is 3:45. And in the LBC 97.3 travel centre now, it's Russell Holding.
Oh, hi, Julia. On the M25, clockwise traffic's queuing between junctions 16 and 19. That's from the M40 round to Watford after an accident on the anti-clockwise side earlier. The anti-clockwise delays have started to ease. It's also taking roughly 40 minutes from junction 24 round to 26 clockwise. That's from Potters Bar to Waltham Abbey, again after an accident earlier. On Piccadilly, one lane is closed eastbound for emergency repairs just after the Ritz, with queues from just after the Piccadilly underpass. In Bruce Grove, Lordship Lane is partly blocked by an accident off the High Road. In Wimbledon, there are accidents partly blocking Wimbledon Hill and Warple Road. There are queues each way on Denmark Hill because of roadworks. Southbound, the queues back to Camberwell Green. In Dartford, Bob Dunn Way remains closed out of town from Marsh Street to junction 1A of the M25 because of flooding. There are minor delays on the District Line between Barking and Upminster after a signal failure. And the Victoria Line is running a normal service now after the disruption yesterday. Keeping London moving, your next travel update is in 15 minutes.
This is LBC 97.3.
Well, let me tell you about an accident I had. It wasn't nice. It was quite bad. It made me feel. It made him sad.
For £2,000 upfront on all eligible cases, text HH to 660. Hampson Hughes, finally, something to feel good about. That's HH to 660. T's and C's apply.
Everyone should see this film. A masterpiece.
I was a free man. I'm not a slave.
Nominated for 9 Oscars and 10 BAFTA awards.
If you want to survive, do and say as little as possible.
Well, I don't want to survive. I want to live.
12 Years a Slave. In cinemas everywhere now. Certificate 15.
Read any reviews about your company recently? Have a search on Google now and check some out.
Hopefully you won't find any nasty surprises, but it's worth knowing that 80% of customers surveyed were put off by just a couple of negative reviews. Reputation.com can manage and improve your brand's image online to make sure potential customers find out about the good reputation you've worked so hard to build up. So, no nasty surprises. For a free report on your online reputation and to find out how we can help, visit Reputation.com.
Landlords, if one of your properties has a blocked drain, broken boiler or electrical fault, call the British Gas team. We offer ongoing care, one-off repairs, landlord safety certificates and multi-property discounts. Visit britishgas.co.uk. British Gas, looking after your world. Conditions apply.
Don't miss a weekend of FA Cup fourth round action on BT Sport starting this Friday from 7 p.m. when Arsenal host League One's Coventry City. Join us again on Saturday from 4:45 for Everton away to FA Cup giant killers Stevenage, and then on Sunday from 12 as Sheffield United host Fulham. Can the Blades take another Premier League scalp? Find out exclusively live on BT Sport. £12 a month on the Sky digital satellite platform or free with BT Broadband.
UK residential customers only. Online requires 400 kilobits per second. BT Broadband for new customers from £10 a month plus £15.99 line rental. 12-month contract and terms apply. Sky platform requires 12-month contract, and if you don't have BT Broadband, a £15 activation fee.
LBC 97.3. Coming up at 4, Ian Dale at Drive.
It seems that Labour and Lib Dem peers in the House of Lords are about to scupper the European referendum bill, which would guarantee us a referendum on EU membership in 2017. If they do, doesn't that guarantee UKIP victory in May's European elections?
London's biggest conversation with Ian Dale this afternoon from 4, LBC 97.3.
That's Ian Dale coming up at 4 o'clock to take you home at Drive this Friday afternoon. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer with you still. Until then, I'm joined by Kathryn Mewes, the 3-Day Nanny. She's taking your parenting questions. Before we go to another call, Kathryn, it's one thing I've thought that a lot of the callers we've had so far is how much they're being backed up by their other half, whether it's a child not sleeping or in CJ's case, a child getting bottles all through the night. How important is it that both parents, if they're both around involved in the parenting, are backing each other up and doing the same thing?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think when you're parenting, you want to feel that someone's there for you, that someone actually is there waving your flag, saying you're doing a great job, it's okay. And I think that's the role of husband and wife or partners. That's something that to be singing from the same hymn sheet, and if you don't agree, discuss it when the child's not there.
I suppose as the older the child gets, the more they're able to be aware that, I'll get away with this because dad lets me get away with this. But you must back each other up. In front of the children, you back each other up 100%.
Absolutely. And you know what? Even if in that instant you don't necessarily agree with the way your partner is disciplining, bite your bottom lip as hard as you can, because you can't override them. You can definitely discuss it in the evening over a glass of wine or a cup of tea, but at the time, just make sure that your child has got a clear understanding that you both mean the same thing.
And no one's going to undermine it. OK, thank you very much. That Shanae is on the line from Enfield. Shanae, what's the issue with you? Shanae, are you there? Oh,
hello.
Hello, we've got you. What
Hi
question do you have for Kathryn?
I've got a 3-year-old. Well, she's 3 and 9 months, and she doesn't listen to me at all. We've tried time out, we've tried the naughty step, we've tried counting down, and she just refuses to listen to me.
Okay, Kathryn?
Right, okay. I think the first thing I'd like to say is I don't believe that children can hear unless they can actually look at you and make eye contact. So I haven't got the best knees in the world because I spent 20 years bending them so that I can be at the same level as a child in order to make eye contact. So that's the first really big one. And holding her upper arms, not firmly, but holding her upper arms so that she knows you want her undivided attention. And then asking her in a way that you believe in her and you truly believe that she's going to do as you asked. So very positive and very upbeat. Then give her the space to do as you've asked. But then, if she still isn't listening, you bend your knees again and you go into that position and you use your firm voice and you make yourself clear. Then you give her the choice. She either does as you've asked or she spends time on her own. So if you've asked her to take her shoes off, it's shoes off or step. And then she chooses. And if she doesn't take her shoes off, she sits on the step until she's willing to take them off. So it's just three clear messages that you give her. You ask her nice and calm with positive energy. Then you tell her in your firm, clear voice. And then you act on it. And she's taken and left to sit on the step until she's ready to do as you've asked.
And if you have to keep doing that 20 times, is that what you do?
You have to keep returning them to that step until they're willing to listen to you.
Sinead, when you've done this in the past, you say you've tried everything, the naughty step and time out. How long have you done it until you've gone, oh, OK, don't do it then?
Oh, no, I don't. She can sit there screaming for hours. It doesn't bother me the slightest. I'll leave her to sit down for her 3 minutes until she's quiet and until she's ready to do what she wants. But it's almost, the thing about it is we always have to get to that stage. I would just like for her to be able to ask her something and she just does it. I just feel that every time we have to go through this regime in order for her just to listen.
Yeah, you said something there about you leave her to sit for 3 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has to sit down on the step quietly for 3 minutes.
Right. Okay. My theory's a bit different to that, I'm afraid. And I believe that a child is sitting on a step or in their room until you are ready. And the reason I say that is because children, and your daughter's nearer to 4 than she is 3, but bright children, and most of them are, will realise, oh, it's only for a period of time. I'll sit here twiddling my thumbs and then I'll jump off the step, and next time she asks me to do something, I won't do it again. So they need to be sat on their own until they feel the consequence, until they actually know, I don't get away with anything and I could be sitting on this step for a very long time.
OK, Sinead, it sounds like, yes, it's taking the power back, that you are the person in control. I think a lot of mums and dads will sympathise with that feeling of, OK, I can get them to do it after threatening or whatever, but I just want you to do it the first time I ask you to do it. And is it worthwhile sort of just giving a reason? OK, take your shoes off because then we can go and do, or whatever the issue is. But then you're into sort of justifying it, aren't you? As opposed to, I've asked you to do something. There's always a reason for it. Just do it.
Yes, there is. But I do believe in believing in your child and bending down and making eye contact. So if it's shoes off, come on, we're all taking our shoes off because we're all coming back into the house or
but
something
start
else.
positive,
But yes,
so you don't set up a battle from the word go.
Exactly.
Sinead, I wish you the best of luck. Michelle is now in Orpington. Michelle, what's your issue?
Hi, Julia.
Hello.
Hello, Kathryn.
Hello,
Just a quick
Michelle.
question on discipline. My grandson is 22 months old and he can't speak yet, just makes the noises, And my daughter and her partner, when he plays up, they put him on a rug in the hall facing the wall.
Right.
And I just wondered what you think of this.
Right, okay.
Because I don't personally agree with it.
Right, okay. Does it work?
I've heard of a naughty step, but
Does it work?
I'm not that.
Does it work?
Well, after a while, apparently they say to him, "Are you sorry?"
Right.
And he can't speak, so I think he goes and gives them a cuddle. But I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think if it's their family and it works for them, and their son is able to respect the way that they are disciplining him, I think it's absolutely fine.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether it's a step or a rug. It doesn't matter where it is.
Yeah.
I'll often use a beanbag. It doesn't matter
I think
where
it's the face in the wall that's...
Yeah, but to a child, it doesn't matter whether you say face the door, face the wall, look at the ceiling. Right. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. That isn't damaging in any way.
You're not being locked in a cupboard.
No. I don't. If you said to a child, sit there and look at the wall, that's what they'll do. You're over-analysing it too much. But for a 22-month-old, they just go, okay, what I've got to do, I haven't been listening. I sit on the mat, I look at the wall, and then Mummy comes in and says this word, sorry, and that means I give her a hug, and then it's all okay again.
Right.
Michelle, am I detecting, are you a little bit anxious about your daughter's partner?
I just think when he was young, I think he had the same sort of, his nose nearly touched the wall, apparently. Yeah. He had a lot more, that sort of discipline with him, and I just think he's sort of doing the same with...
And you think perhaps it's going too far?
I mean, when you've got...
I don't know. That's what I just wanted to ask, whether you thought that was okay, whether
because
it's not damaging or anything.
Because the little one is 22 months, he will understand everything that we're saying to him, by the way, just because he can't reply. Yeah. But maybe just sit on the mat is enough. You don't have to tell a child where to look. They could just sit on the mat.
It's boring enough. You're in the hallway. You haven't got your toys. Michelle, thank you for your call. Sean is in Uxbridge. Hi, Sean. We'll have to keep this incredibly brief. What's the issue?
Hi, ladies. Yeah. My 2.5-year-old daughter is very attached to me. My 10-month-old son's quite similar, but my daughter, she really doesn't like me not putting her to bed. If when I get home on time, I put her to bed every night. I'm quite happy to, but my girlfriend would quite like to put her to bed occasionally and tuck her in.
So she's getting too attached. Sean, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. But Kathryn, any thoughts at all on dealing with that attachment and that clinginess?
I think so. How about you and your girlfriend putting her to bed together to start with? Maybe that's a good thing.
Excellent advice. Very simple. Sean, I'm so sorry we couldn't talk to you for longer. Got to as many calls as we could while Kathryn Mewes was with. Thank you so much for joining us. So many people called in asking for advice. It's Kathryn Mewes, the Three-Day Nanny. Of course, you've got your book, The Three-Day Nanny. And of course, you're available to families. You go and work with families yourself, don't you, for 3 days at a time, living with them. We're not allowed to ask about the rich and famous clients. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us. I'll be back with you 1 o'clock on Monday. I'll leave you now with Mr. Ian Dale, who doesn't need any parenting tips for so many different reasons.
No, I need a 7-day nanny. And I haven't even got any children. Now it appears that Labour and Lib Dem peers in the House of Lords are about to scupper the European referendum bill, which would guarantee us a referendum on EU membership in 2017. If they do, doesn't that guarantee UKIP victory in May's European elections? 0845 6060 973. At 5, figures out today show that wage rises are now outstripping inflation. Is 2014 going to be the year we feel the benefits of economic recovery? And after the B-boy gets into trouble, I'll be asking, what was the naughtiest thing you did as a teenager, and who was your teenage obsession? Mine?